Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Shreya Dhondial. It's good to see you. 50 years ago to this day, India had scripted a golden moment in its military history. The instrument of surrender had been signed, Pakistan had been defeated, and Bangladesh was born. Today there were celebrations both in India and Bangladesh, a day to remember and relive the 13-day war that ended with the largest military surrender after World War II. Also a day to remember the men who made this victory possible. Some who died in battle, the others who lived to tell the tale. Over the next 30 minutes, the great battles and warriors of 71. Also, I'm privileged today to be joined by Major General Ian Cardozo, the Gorkha who took his kukri to ampute his leg in the middle of battle. Why did he do it? I'm putting that question to him. But first, the poignant ceremony at the National War Memorial earlier this morning, where the Prime Minister led the nation in paying homage to the braves of 1971. India had gone into the war reluctantly. The Pakistani army had started a genocide in East Pakistan where rape and torture was being used as a weapon. Refugees had started pouring into India like a wave. Indira Gandhi knew that a decisive action would be needed sooner rather than later. It came on 3rd of December, 1971. As India celebrates 75 years of its independence, it is also celebrating 50 years of the 1971 war. A story of India's victory, Pakistan's surrender, and Bangladesh's freedom. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi went into the war reluctantly. Refugees from East Pakistan, escaping the Pakistani army's genocide, had come in like a flood, 8 to 10 million of them. But soon Indira Gandhi realized that a strong, decisive response was needed. And when it came, it reincarnated her as Durga and saw the largest military surrender after World War II.
आपसे मैं एक खतरे के समय बोल रही हूँ। पाकिस्तान ने हमारे ऊपर एक हमला किया। सबका संकल्प है कि इस हमले का निर्णयात्मक ढंग से समाप्त कर दिया जाए।
The war started when Pakistan launched airstrikes at 11 Indian air bases. In 13 days of the war, some incredible battles were fought. Some incredible heroes were born. As the war raged on, the Indian Navy launched an audacious attack and struck at the heart of Pakistan with 4 missile boats. The Karachi harbour, home to the Pakistani Navy, surrounded by its fuel reserves, burnt for days. The next big blow for the Pakistani Navy was the sinking of its submarine Ghazi that had been sent to stalk India's aircraft carrier, INS Vikrant. But there was heartbreak for the Indian Navy as well. INS Kukri, under the command of Captain M.N. Mullah, was hit by a torpedo fired from a Pakistani submarine. captain ordered his crew to abandon ship. Then he went back to the captain's chair and calmly went down with his ship. The war ended after the chief of the Pakistani forces, General A.A.K. Niazi, along with 93,000 troops, surrendered to the Indian Army and Mukti Bahini. Pakistan lost half its territory and Bangladesh was born. It was a bloody birth. 3,800 Indian soldiers were killed in battle, but in those 13 days, many legends were born. 21-year-old Lieutenant Arun Khetrapal charging his tank into the enemy, knowing fully well that he will not return. Major Hoshyar Singh, who in the dark trenches of Basantar showed us what real leadership is all about. Both were awarded India's highest gallantry award, the Paramveer Chakra. On 3rd December, Pakistan struck at Indian air bases, officially starting the 71 war. It ended 13 days later with 8,000 soldiers dead on both sides. Among them, 2nd Lieutenant Arun Khetrapal. Lieutenant Khetrapal was 21, commissioned just 6 months before the war. His tank regiment, 17 Pune Horse, was tasked with securing a bridge on the Basantar River. On 16 December, as the Pakistanis attacked, an intense tank battle ensued. Khetrapal's tank was hit, but he refused to retreat, instead charging after the enemy. He secured the Basantar bridgehead, but never came back home. His mother says she's proud her son died a soldier's death.
People don't forget. And such a young boy, people say, kis cheez ka bana tha tumhara beta? He was born for it. Some people are born for something. Probably he was born for it. And do you know in which form I got him? As I'm putting this thing, the ashes came to me in a bag, a small little thali. And when they came and they gave, I took.
For courage in the face of death, Lieutenant Khetrapal received India's highest gallantry award, the Paramveer Chakra. Barely a kilometre away from where Lieutenant Khetrapal valiantly fought and died, another Paramveer was battling the odds. Major Hoshyar Singh of the 3 Grenadiers came under heavy shelling from the Pakistanis. Though seriously injured, he went from trench to trench, telling his men to stand and fight till the attack was repelled. His son, now serving in his father's regiment, says the quiet major never spoke about the war later.
He says, I cannot see somebody lying on the ground with blood. And I was worried, okay, what will happen when I go to the war? But when the war started, he says, even for a moment, I did not hesitate.
Heroes like Major Hoshyar Singh and Lieutenant Khetrapal showed us that the regimental colours they carried were still a matter of honour. Their stories have not just continued to inspire generations of soldiers who came after them, but also taught them that one all-important lesson. That honour in battle, much like in life, is often about standing one's ground and fighting till the last tank or man if necessary. In Mamun, with camera person Neeraj Upadhyay, I'm Shreya Dhondial. A day into the war, the Indian Navy showed us the steel it is made of. 3 small missile boats carrying Russian missiles and a terribly brave Indian but Russian-speaking crew bombed the main base of the Pakistani Navy. That's the Karachi port. By the time Operation Trident ended, exactly in 90 minutes, a Pakistani warship had been destroyed, another vessel carrying its arms had been sunk, and half of Pakistan's fuel supply had been set ablaze.
India's swiftest, fastest striking force getting the President's Standard on Navy Day 2021. The honour coming exactly half a century after the Killer Squadron's finest hour. This was Operation Trident. The date, December 4th, 1971. The venue, just off the coast of Karachi. A unique strike force was swimming among the waters. Like a shark, it smelled blood and was about to strike. The Karachi strike group consisted of 3 Vidyut-class missile boats, INS Nipat, Nirghat and Veer, each armed with 4 Soviet-made SSN-2B Styx missiles. It also had 2 Annala-class anti-submarine corvettes, INS Kilton and Kachal, and a fleet tanker, the INS Poshak. The group was under Commander Babru Bhan Yadav of the 25th Missile Boat Squadron. At precisely 10:30 p.m., the INS Nirghat drew first blood, firing its first Styx missile at the PNS Khaibar, a Pakistani battle-class destroyer. The warship had no idea what hit it. Before it could gather its wits, the second missile from Nirghat struck. Khaibar sunk, killing 222 sailors. 30 minutes later, the INS Nipat joined in the battle, firing 2 Styx missiles, one each at cargo vessel MV Venus Challenger and its escort PNS Shah Jahan, a C-class destroyer. Venus Challenger, carrying ammunition for the Pakistani forces, exploded immediately and sank. The other missile targeted Shah Jahan and damaged the ship critically. 20 minutes later, it was INS Veer's turn. A missile was fired at the PNS Muhafiz. The adjutant-class minesweeper sank at once, killing 33 sailors. Meanwhile, INS Nipat continued towards Karachi and targeted the Kemari oil storage tanks. One of the missiles found its mark, causing a Pakistani fuel shortage. In just 1 hour, the Indian Navy had left Pakistan's biggest port reeling.
It is very rare that the squadron which is commissioned and in the very first year of its operations, it goes to war and creates history. And that is what this squadron did.
Ritangshu Bhattacharya for CNN News 18.
The 1971 war saw the birth of many legends and many heroes, men who risked it all for a cause greater than any. One of them, a young Gorkha officer who thought nothing of taking his kukri and amputing his own leg in the middle of the battlefield. Major General Ian Cardozo, now 84, joining me on the show today. General, thank you for your time here on Debrief. 50 years, when you look back, what do you remember?
What I remember about the war basically is my battalion, the officers, the JCOs and the men, because they are what in the army we call as family. The Gurkhas are a wonderful race of warriors, whereas they can cut off the enemy's head without blinking an eye. They are very kind, they are very thoughtful, they are very brave, they are very courageous. And it was a great privilege to be with them both in the 62, 65 and then the 71 wars.
General, I know you're terribly bored of retelling the story about you amputing your own leg in the middle of the battlefield with your kukri. I just want to ask you if you ever regret doing it.
People have made a huge story out of this. Actually, any soldier in my position would have done the same thing. I knew quite clearly that my leg could not be saved. My foot was hanging by shreds of flesh and ligaments. I knew it could not be saved, but it was looking very ugly to me, and I decided that I needed to do something and get rid of that because I knew it could not be saved. So I asked my batman to cut it off. He said, "Saab, let's wait for the doctor." And so I did it myself, but it's made a lot of exaggeration has taken place, and a big story is made of this. It's not true. Anyone in my place would have done the same thing, and I have no regrets whatsoever. It was something which had to be done, and the reason why I have no regrets is because I've seen so many men better than me who have died, who have been very grievously wounded. So I was lucky to lose only a part of my leg. Others lost their lives.
And finally, General, I know you've had a long day, but I believe there's a movie on your life that is now being made. Are you excited about it?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not excited about it at all because I feel that there are many more people who are more deserving of a film rather than me.
Okay, General, thank you very much for your time. General Cardozo, thank you very much for speaking to us here on CNN News 18. Thank you very much indeed. How do you bring a force 3 times its size to its knees? By airdropping 750 Indian paratroopers. This is exactly what happened in Tangail in 1971. It was the biggest airborne operation ever mounted by Indian paratroopers. Soldiers who captured a crucial bridge, intercepted a Pakistani brigade marching towards Dhaka and forced the enemy to retreat.
"750 men dropping from the sky and changing the course of the 1971 war. The 2nd Battalion of the Parachute Regiment was airdropped into Tangail for a critical mission, the capture of the Pungli Bridge to stop the Pakistani 93rd Brigade that was marching to defend Dhaka.
The idea was to drop the battalion group behind them at a place called Tangail, which was a communication center. The sky was full. Now a massive drop, and it was not a night drop. It was pre-dusk drop, about 5 in the evening. So the sky was full.
The mission was successful. The Indian Army not just managed to push back the Pakistani charge, they also marched right up to Mirpur Bridge, which was at the gates of Dhaka. It was only after this victory that General Jagjit Singh Arora sent a message to General Niazi: surrender or face the consequences.
My dear Abdullah, the game is up. You give yourself up to me and I'll take care of you.
But the Tangail airdrop was a success because of ground support from men like Brigadier P.K. Ghosh. He had gone undercover, crossed into East Pakistan and identified where it was safe for the paras to airdrop.
I infiltrated into East Pakistan, dressed in a lungi. I had unmarked carbine with some unmarked ammunition, some Pak currency, and a transceiver which was crystal operated. By 16th or 17th of November, I had linked up with Tiger Siddiqui somewhere around Tangail and had a deep discussion with him about my mission.
The Tangail airdrop was a daring idea executed to perfection in the face of grave danger. 50 years later, the Army and the Air Force paid their homage to the audacious mission with a mass jump in Agra.
When the 1971 war broke out, the BSF, that's the Border Security Force, was only 6 years old. Yet, this young force full of earthy, brave soldiers did way more than was expected of them. Their stories coming up next. Do stay with us. As we look back at the unflinching valor displayed by our armed forces in 1971, the contribution of the BSF is often overlooked. In the chilly, dark nights of December in 1971, BSF commandos would go deep inside East Pakistan to carry out stealth operations to cross the border undercover, blow up bridges, fuel depots or railway tracks, and then seek back into Indian territory, all in the face of flying bullets. Some veterans spoke to Arunima. This is her story.
April to December 1971, much before the war began, BSF, by training Mukti Yodhas, disrupting supply lines and capturing enemy BOPs, was giving Pakistan a bloody nose. But the force really stood up to get countered in the dunes of Thar and Kutch. One of the turning points for India in the 13-day war was Battle for Longowal, where the Border Security Force, just 6 years old, fought shoulder to shoulder with the Indian Army. Head Constable Bhairo Singh proudly recalls how a full tank regiment was brought to its knees by 120 men from the Army and BSF.
आवाज आई पीछे से कि डरो मत, हम तुम्हारे साथ है, देवी डरो मत, हम तुम्हारे साथ में हैं। उसके बाद हमारा डर बहुत बिल्कुल मिट गया और फायरिंग ठोकते रहे उनके ऊपर। फिर बमबारी होने लगी और उनकी फौज में भगदड़ मच गई, टैंक उड़ने लगे, गाड़ियाँ उड़ने लगी और फौज में भगदड़ लग गई। भगते हुए के पीछे हम फायर करते रहे और आगे वो पीछे हटते रहे।
Bhairo Singh's story became well known after Bollywood discovered him, but there were many heroes of Thar and Kutch who were forgotten. Deputy Commandant G.R. Chaudhary and his colleagues got less than a month of artillery training before they were thrust to the front line. Now 76, he recalls what happened as if it was just yesterday.
हम आगे की तैयारी कर रहे थे और आगे रुकने वाला पोस्ट की तरफ उसको भी कैप्चर करने की तैयारी की, तब तक वहां से वो दुश्मन खाली करके भाग गया।
In run of Kutch, then Sub-Inspector Kishan Dhan and team not only captured a Pakistani post but also held on to it for over a year.
1973 मई में जब शिमला समझौता हुआ पाकिस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री जुल्फिकार अली भुट्टो और भारत की प्रधानमंत्री श्रीमती इंदिरा गांधी के बीच, तो उसमें जो फैसला हुआ उसके बाद में हमें आदेश मिला कि सब वापस अपने अपने एरिया में आ जाएंगे।
BSF's domination of the Western Front earned them the title of Sentinels of the Thar. 125 personnel sacrificed their lives as the war went on, both on the eastern and the western border. Mahavir Chakras, Veer Chakras, Padma Awards were all given to the personnel who made the supreme sacrifice. But 50 years later, stories are still pouring out about the commitment, valor and raw courage of Seema Praharis. With Ravinder Kumar in New Delhi, this is Arunima.
It is often said that there are no unwounded soldiers in war. You may come back alive, but you always carry the wound of carrying the coffin of a brother soldier. Today, as we celebrate the glorious victory of 1971, we also salute all those families who lost their sons and brothers and husbands and fathers in the war. Thanks for watching. Good night.